What's going on? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me just make sure we do some audio visual test and make sure we can hear each other or hear me at least. Perfect. Okay, hear each other. All right, awesome. So welcome to my Empire Pro Live. I come here Mondays and Thursdays. I try to be here at 4 p.m. right after the market. Sometimes, I try to make it here. Sometimes I'm on the road, and that was the case today. So today we're going to talk about how to get your first deal in wholesale real estate. If you're struggling to get your first deal with real estate wholesale, I've got your back today. I'm going to get into some details so we can make sure that you get to that stage as soon as possible. If you already got your first deal and you're struggling to get your second deal, or maybe you're struggling to get the next deal, you may want to pay attention to this. A lot of times, you maybe experience a quick success very fast, very quickly, and that could be a setup for failure. It could set you up for wrongful expectations. So, with that being said, let's get into it for today. All right, great. So let's get into it today. Let's keep it sharpy and straight to the point. Just in case you're coming here for the first time, my name is Ola, and I come here, like I said, every time, and we upload at least one video per day. So you want to make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure you hit the like button if I say anything that makes sense to you. And if you just want to skip through all of that, you can just go ahead and hit the like button right now. You want to hit it just once throughout the session. The truth is that this is sort of kind of like a training platform. I do had some news elements to it just to make sure that I'm giving you enough examples to make sense of everything that's going on. So, for example, we're talking about wholesale real estate, right? What is wholesale real estate? Well, we cannot talk about wholesale real estate without talking about investing in real estate. So, everyone, the moms, the pops knows that real estate is essentially a lucrative business, right? Real estate is essentially the buying and selling of houses. What we consider shelter over our head as human beings. We keep a roof over our head, right? So, that's real estate for you right there. But as an industry, yes, the buying and selling of houses is what we consider real estate. In some parts of the world, they call this estate. In some parts, they call it properties. Once you say properties, they know what we're talking about, right? So, because it's extremely lucrative, because basically one expense that every man, maybe woman too, right, that has to incur every single month is the housing expense, right? Either you're paying rent or you're paying some kind of lease, or you're actually buying a property outright, or you're paying mortgages because you finance the purchase of a property. Either way, you're contributing, or you donate money as a teenager to your parents to help pay the bills. Uh, Either way, you're contributing to the industry we call real estate. Okay, so it's a huge industry that's connected to the whole economy as a whole. If anything happens to real estate, the economy will go bad. If anything happens to the economy, it will have effect on real estate as well. So it's just something that you have to pay attention to. So what is wholesale real estate? Wholesale real estate is essentially the it's an opportunity for you to be able to find deals for real estate investors, right? So real estate investors, what they do is they buy low and they sell high. They find really good deals, meaning a property that's worth a lot more. They find a good deal, meaning they're able to pay a lot less than what it's worth. And then they sometimes they put in some work. For the most part, the house needs work. That's why it's being sold cheaply, right? So let's say it needs about $30,000 worth of work. So because of that, the owner is not able to list the property on the market, on the multiple listing services, MLS, right? With an agent, because the house needs work. It doesn't fit on the market. Maybe you get the point. Like, it's hard to sell the house because it needs significant amount of work. And then the majority of the work is cosmetic, meaning, new paintings, carpet, maybe upgraded HVAC, heating system, cooling system, stuff like that, right? Because the house needs work that an investor will consider not a big deal, but the homeowner, they're not in the business of real estate. It's a big deal for them. They don't have 30, $40,000 laying around to put the house to fix the house and then put it on the market to command what the house is actually worth. So now let's talk about what the house is worth. The house is worth uh, what the market says, not if it needs work or not, right? But again, visual is a real thing. If a house visually looks like it's run down, like it needs work, a lot of people will avoid that house and go to the next house, right? So that is still a big deal. But ultimately, real estate is about location. The location is the majority of the value that the real estate carries, right? So now, as real estate investors, we understand that. Now, you as a potential wholesaler, hopefully, right? You understand that. You understand that because it needs cosmetic work, it looks dirty on the outside, doesn't mean that the property is still not worth a significant amount of money. So let's say the property is completely fixed up after repair value of the property. Let's say it's $400,000, right? So in this case, it's $400,000, but because it needs work, um, the majority of the offers that are coming in at 320, 310, or maybe worse, maybe 120, right? It needs work. So to the buyers, it's like, no, I'm not going to deal with that, even though it's literally going to cost $30,000 to fix this house and make it worth $400,000 instantly. So ideally, based off of logic, you shouldn't need to pay, you shouldn't need to sell it for less than $370,000, give or take $350,000, because it needs $30,000 of work. Because after you spend $30,000 on it, it's supposedly worth $400,000. Why? Because the house next door sold for 400, the next one door sold for 410, the other one sold for 420, another one sold for 390. So we kind of know that this location is hot and is worth $400,000, but the house needs work. But the homeowners don't realize that their property is worth what it's worth. You see what I'm saying? So we know that, right? But even if they know, sometimes life events just put them in a position where they're not able to pay that $30,000. Sometimes it's a second home. Sometimes it's not a second home. Sometimes it's they are a landlord. They live far away and they don't want the headache from the tenants and stuff like that anymore, right? So you realize that and you're saying, I don't have the cash to buy properties. I don't have that kind of cash laying around, but I can find deals. I can set up a marketing campaign to people that potentially would not want a piece of property anymore. Foreclosures, divorce situations, tax delinquency, the house is vacant, it's on a vacant list with the post office, right? Meaning the house is not producing for the owner. And you send out a marketing campaign to them either by text message, postcards, maybe voice notes, whatever. You put out a cold call to them and you say, hey, are you open to selling the property? I saw that property on the street on 123 Main Street. Are you open to selling it? And then they go, I mean, what's the offer? I mean, I'll consider an offer. Why? Because the house is just sitting there, right? But we know that the property is worth a lot more than what they think, or what is or the actual present performance of the property, right? We know that. We know these things, right? So because of that, you know that, and you're able to say, you know what, I'll give you an offer. So we have a formula for that. But anyway, the point is that you finding such deals for cash buyer investors who actually have the cash to buy this property, when they take over, you lock it under contract, meaning you found somebody who said, yes, I just want to get rid of it. I'll sell it to you for 150. The property is worth $400,000 after repair, right? But they want to sell it to you for 150 because it needs $30,000 worth of work. So if you purchase, let's say you're able to purchase this property, you purchase for 150, and then you had another $30,000 on top of that, right? That's 180. You're in 180, and you turn around and list that house on the market with an agent. Agents, listen carefully, you do benefit from this, right? And then they sell the property for $400,000, and now your gross profit is literally, what did I say, 180? Like your cost is up to 180, right? $200,000 profit just because you were willing to find a property that needs work. Okay, you know what? Remember that you couldn't really purchase the property, but you found the deal for an investor who will purchase the property, right? Okay, so you wanted to charge, since you found the deal at 150, the property is going to need $30,000 of work, right? So that's 180. You decided that, you know what, I'm going to give this to an investor who has the cash to execute on this purchase contract, something that you have equitable rights in, right? The contract is a right for you to purchase a property. You assigned the deal to the person that's actually going to buy the property, right? You assign it to them in exchange for an assignment fee, $20,000. So their cost is up to 180 plus 20, that's 200. Remember, the property is still worth $400,000. It's still potentially making almost $200,000. Less the closing cost and all this other costs that may come with that, right? That's wholesaling really quickly for you. So we're talking about how do you get the first deal? How do you get your first deal? All right. Now I'll tell you a quick story. My first deal, I made $10,000. It was supposed to be $20,000, but something happened at the closing, something that would shake my core because I had never experienced that ever before. I was 25 years old at the time. Yes, I had just turned 20. No, no, I just turned 26 at that time. Literally like a month after I turned 26. This was December 2005. And basically, I did the math. I got the property at about 195 and I had it under contract at 195. Turned around, found somebody who was interested in the property at 215, like right off the bat, right? Now, keep in mind that this was a year into me I had other deals in the pipeline that they were being worked on that potentially will be closing soon. But this was the first deal that I closed, right? So I was actually in a place where I was feeling a little invincible because, after I've done this, I had like 6 deals in the pipeline at the time. And I found somebody that was willing to purchase for 215. So I was like, oh yeah, sure. So we got to closing like about less than 30 days later. It was one of the fastest deals I've ever closed in my life, up to date, by the way. It was my first deal. Because remember, I had other deals in the pipeline that were taking a little bit longer, but this deal fell on my lap and I closed it. Well, not fell on my lap. It came from my marketing pieces. Remember, I talked about marketing campaigns, right? So the next thing, let me just go ahead and be sharing my screen really quickly while we're doing that because I want to show you some cool stuff as usual, right? The next thing, at closing, the owner just came to me and he said, "You know what? You're making $20,000 off of me," and I'm going to talk about that today and how to avoid that never happening again. It showed on the closing statement that a check for $20,000, that's the difference between 215 and 195, was going to be cut to me, right? And to my personal name because I actually closed my first deal before I created an LLC. For those that like to ask, should we create an LLC first? Well, the way I did is I closed my first deal first and then I created an LLC right after. But you don't have to follow any order. Just make sure you have an LLC as soon as possible, right? Because you don't want to be running a business on your name for many reasons that you can learn out there, tax reasons, protection of yourself, all this kind of stuff. I'm not a lawyer here, so I'm not an attorney, so please don't take any legal advice from me, right? Let's see. All right. Okay, so yeah, I was trying to share my screen just to make sure that I'm ready when I'm ready to go, right? So he just came to me and he said, "You know what? You're making $20,000 off of me. No, no, we can't. I'm not doing it." I was like, "You're not doing what?" Right? I was like, "You're not doing what? Of course you're doing it." So now, this is what I did wrong. I did not negotiate. Okay, I did not negotiate. What I did was like I splitted the difference. Okay, there's a book right now on my Audible. Okay, on my what do you call it, audiobooks platform, Audible. It's a book that I need to read. I already purchased it, but I have a feeling that's what it's talking about. The book says never split the difference, and that's precisely what I did. I splitted the difference, right? I basically said, "All right, you know what? I'll give you $10,000 if you close right now." And guess what he said? He said, "Okay, I'll do it." He said, "Okay, I'll do it." So, and that's how I ended up with $10,000, my first deal. Not bad, right? Not bad. But again, the lesson there is that never split the difference. Instead, I could have said, "Hey, listen, I know you got to move. I can give you $2,000 so you can move, and that this is a trick that I used on and on for many deals to come after that, right? And there's a good chance he will say, make it three, and then we'll all be happy, right? And then I won't end up losing $7,000. Well, we can claim that I didn't lose $7,000 because again, it wasn't money that I had anyway. This is just money that came from my activities in business, and we happened to close the deal. So that $10,000 is was beautiful. I ended up splitting it two ways. Used half of it to buy a car because I needed a car at the time, and then the second half to continue marketing. Okay. Now the other deals, they were a lot of them were short sales. So there was a process of short sales that we had to go through before we could close the deals. I ended up closing so many deals back to back after that. But it took me 1 year to close this deal. And why did it take me 1 year to close the deal? And I think that's the lesson here because we're talking about how to get your first deal or how to get to the next deal as humanly possible, right? Why did it take me that long? Well, there were a couple of reasons. I was in college. I finished my master's that same year. So the first half of that year, even though I was already learning the program, learning how to do it, I was also distracted by school. I was again within my master's program at the time, and this was it was heavy. It was engineering management, which is a subset of MBA. So I had to pay attention. So that's one reason. I was also distracted by the idea of IT. I was also going through a certain certification program for some kind of IT thing. This is as far back as 2005 at the time. As soon as I closed my first deal, I ended up uh, quitting that program. But these were some of the things that were distracting me. Now, these were good things. These were life events that were distracting me, right? And that's the angle I'm coming in for you today. If you're having a hard time closing your first deal, it comes down to one thing. It comes down to distraction because this game is actually very, very simple. Okay. Um, the one skill set that you need to master in all of this that will not be covered in what I'm about to show you next, the one skill set is consistency. I can share with you just like that. You know what I mean by consistency? That means you do something over and over and over and over again. And sometimes you're gonna feel weak. You're gonna feel like you can't move forward. You're gonna feel like it's not working, right? Because let me show you something really quickly. I'm gonna use the curve to describe how this process worked for you so you can have an idea of how it works. All right. I'm gonna use this baby right here. Yes, I'm gonna use this. I love using this. This particular curve you're looking at has really helped me in my personal life and even more so in business, but even in relationships, you know. Let's go back. Okay, there you go. I think, let me just make sure you can see my screen now. All right, so you can see what I'm looking at right now. This is what it's going to feel like. This is a feeling, okay? The reality is the red line that you're looking at. Okay, that's the red line that you're looking at. That's the reality. But it's gonna feel like the green line. Okay, and perception is reality. Excuse me. Right, perception is reality. You're gonna keep adding the same amount of effort. For every time you fall apart on that effort, you can go back to square one, basically where the two lines cross at the zero mark, right? You can go back to that line. So you keep going the same effort, you apply effort one, two, three, four, and the output of your effort is the green line. So in the first 6 months, potentially it will feel like you're not getting results. Okay. No, actually, it's not potentially. For a fact, if you close your first deal within the first, let's call this months. It may not be months, it may be weeks, it may be, it's not going to be years if you're consistent. It's got to be weeks or months, right? The difference between weeks and months would depend on you. Maybe you have some knowledge in this game already. You have some equity in this game. You've invested a little bit. Maybe this is not your first program that you're listening to about this topic. So that will count for something. Let's be honest, right? But let me see here. Let me just blow this up a little bit more so we can make sure. At this, at the crossroad over here, at the cross of the two lines of the y and the x-axis. This is the y-axis to my left, and the flat line on the floor is the x-axis, right? I'm trying to bring it down because I can't assume that you know math, right? At the cross of it in the beginning, that's the zero line. So you're adding effort. Let's just call it, let's be more realistic. Let's call it 6 months, right? Some people it's going to be weeks, some people it's months, like I said. Week week one, you sent out 100 pieces of mail, right? You understood this game, right? This game is actually very, very simple. It's actually in 5 stages. The game of real estate wholesaling. It's in simple 5 stages right here. Stage one, data, right? You want access to all the data you want? Just simply go to empirepbigdata.com. You can see it scrolling at the bottom of the screen, right? Stage two is contact, meaning you're initiating contact with potential sellers, right? Stage three is leads. That means they've shown interest to say, yes, I will entertain offer, right? Stage four is that you've agreed and then you wrote a contract and that gave you the right to purchase the property. And stage five is that you successfully assigned the deal to a person that's willing and able to purchase the deal and they paid you an assignment fee, right? Okay, those are the stages right there. Let's not complicate it. It's very simple. So you understood that. So you went through stage one. Let me just show you one more time. You went through stage one, data, contact, and it's time to start generating leads, right? So the only part about these stages that you can control from an input standpoint is stage one and stage two, right? That's all you can control, right? So, all right, let's keep going here. So stage one and stage two is really all you can control. So let me go back. Okay. So that's where your input comes into the business. So we have stage one. Sorry, now we have week one, like that's week one or month one, depending on how slow or fast you are. Honestly, the fast and slow comes down to your consistency level and how coachable you are. That's it. Okay. So week one, you sent out 100 pieces of mail. That was how you initiated contact, right? You pulled data of 100 pieces of properties using PropStream, which you can access at empirebigdata.com. It's free trial. Test it out, right? Week one, you sent out the first piece, 100 pieces. Week two, you sent out the second 100 pieces. No leads yet. Why? Because you can see that green line is at 0 line, right? But then all of this mail that you sent on week one is actually working in your favor. You haven't realized that that's happening, right? You're basically, as a human being, naturally, you're like, it's not happening fast enough. Uh, you're about to quit on yourself, right? Week three, same thing. But the red line is actually the reality because the red line represents the agents that you have out there that's working in your favor for your business. Remember, you sent out 100 pieces of mail on week one. That 100 pieces of mail are out there working for you, sitting on somebody's desk right now, right? Look at this, right? This is a postcard. I'm not going to tell you what this is, but it's a postcard, right? I'll tell you what it is. A car. They're trying to sell me a car because I was shopping for a car recently, right? So they sent me a postcard, right? It's sitting on my desk. One day I may just decide that there's a coupon code on this. Let me use it. You never know when that time is. And this is the difference between losers and winners, right? The losers are busy counting, they're looking for the red line up front in a different way. They're looking at the red line from a standpoint of where's the money? I haven't closed deal, haven't closed deal. But actually, they're doing deals because this mail stand they're sitting on people's tables right now, on people's desk, right? It's in the mail somewhere, right? So week three, I actually have 300 pieces of mail out there because I'm consistent, right? But the green line is maybe leads generated or deals closed. We can't even talk about leads. We can't talk about deals until you've made sure that you're generating a decent amount of leads. What do I mean by that? Let me show you again. Stage three is leads. You can't talk about deals until you've gone through stage three. If you tell me I haven't closed any deals, I'll ask you how many leads are you generating per week, right? That will be the next question I would ask you, right? If you say, well, I'm not generating anything, where are you getting your data from? We got to go backwards. We're able to trace our steps backwards and say, okay, so stage one is data. Where are you getting your data from? Are you consistent? Do you have consistent access to data? Are you filtering your data? What kind of data are you sending? Are you initiating contact with? Okay, all right. So I'm going to show you what that looks like in the software in a second, but let's just keep that at the back of your mind. Let's keep going, right? So week four, now you can see some leads, right? It's the green line. You can see some leads, right? Well, the leads is the blue line. Let's call it the blue line, right? So in week three, somebody actually gave you a call because there's a phone number on the postcard. They gave you a call and say, hey, I received a postcard about you wanting to learn more about my property. I was like, yes. Can you please confirm what property we're talking about? Because I was shopping in the past few weeks. And they'll say, "Oh yeah, it's 234 Main Street." Okay, great, great. Let me pull up some information here, right? You're calm. You're the one in control, right? And then you're trying to get some information, and you say, "Okay, you know what? Is this your good number right here? Okay, I actually will have an offer for you. Do you mind if I get some information from you?" You ask a few information. The first five questions is that, well, by now you've confirmed their name, the property address. That's two right there. You ask them how soon do they need to sell, right? You ask them why are they selling, right? How soon do they need to sell? Why are they selling? How soon do they need to sell? Why are they selling? What they're looking for. You need to know so you can be able to help them. But you need to confirm name, property address, right? Things like that. Those are the first four questions right there. I have another video on the first five questions right there. But you want to ask other questions too off of what they're telling you. So the property have sewage on it. How long has the house been sitting on the market? It looks like it was listed on the market for a while, right? Okay, great. Why didn't you consider listing with an agent? I just don't have the time to have to list it with an agent. Oh, okay. All right, good. Just so you know, I'm an investor and I'm looking to buy houses cheaply so I can make profit. Is that okay with you? Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense, right? Right? They're telling you that, right? That's leads. You're having conversation about this property, right? And they've shown you interest. You're at the lead stage and you're having such conversations, and that's the blue line, not the green line. The green line will not show up until later. In this case, this will be week number 6. Are you able to be consistent for 6 weeks or 6 months? Right? If I were you, I would set myself up for winning and not work against myself with crazy ass ultimatums like 6 weeks. I just say 6 months, right? Month one, this is a certain amount of input from me. I'm initiating contact with all these potential people that can sell me a potentially distressed homeowners, right? Week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, right? Week 6, maybe not necessarily deals yet, but there are deals, potential deals in the pipeline. As a matter of fact, somebody's interested in the property already. It's on the title work. They're doing the title work. We could close in the next 2-3 weeks. And that's where you start to see results. But the part that a lot of people miss is that this actual effort, the red line, that's why it's the input. It feels red. But eventually, right, this is why you're struggling with your first deal because you're not consistent. The red line is your consistency effort, is your input. It's basically stage 1 and stage 2. It's basically data and leads. Okay? That's it right there. As you can see, all three lines are on your platform, right? Blue line is lead generation. Leads are going to show up first before you close deals. The green line is you start to close deals. And because of all the red line, all the inputs, right? Why is it that the green line is taking off like crazily, outpacing both lines? Because you've worked something that most people will not do when they engage any type of business. That's why most businesses fail within the first 5 years. 95% of businesses fail within the first 5 years. It doesn't mean that they're not putting effort in. It could be because they're applying effort in the wrong direction. They don't have a well-defined mode of operation, which is something I just showed you, these 5 stages, right? They don't have, a lot of time they don't have mentorship. They don't have a guide. Over here, I do provide free text coaching by text message, by the way. All you have to do is come in through Real Estate Money Secrets. I give a lot of stuff away for free. I give away the books for free. They're actually published books. All right. I give away free masterclass with that. I give away what do you call it? Free text coaching by text message. I also, that means you can ask me a question and I answer it by text message. You have direct line once you come on inside. There's something else that I give away, 2 free courses. Okay, there's 2 free courses that you could also access from the same platform, Real Estate Money Secrets. All right. So now, with that being said, uh, speaking of, like we said, like this first stage is data, right? And a lot of people miss it in this part because they don't have like a well outlined process that they follow. Like somebody showing them this is stage 1, this is stage 2. I have problem with stage 2. Okay, let's go back to stage 1. Or you don't have contact. Okay, let's go back to. Or you're not generating leads. Okay, have you been? What kind of campaign are you running? That's stage 2, contact, right? You're doing text messages. Are you doing postcards? Which one are you doing? Okay, how many of it have you done consistently, right? really the only part we can control all aspects of this, but in the beginning when we're talking about your first deal, you can only control how consistent you're gonna be with stage one and stage two, which is data and contact. And this is the software that I use called PropStream, and you can access it a 7 days free trial of it at empirebigdata.com. All right. So now, with that being said, let me just go to, well, so we're in stage one, stage two. This is what you need to do consistently if you want to win at this game. Okay. Um, we do know that there's certain aspect of the country where the idea, the real estate wholesale business model is being frowned at. We're talking about Ohio, Oklahoma State. We're talking about there's one more, Illinois. Okay, and generally speaking, avoid doing this business in California and New York states. Those 5 states. Okay, I generally, so just keep that at the back of your mind. Why? Because the regulations are a little bit getting overwhelming over there. But I'll tell you something. Let me speak to the regulations right now. There's a lot of conversations going on about the regulations. There's a lot of bills that's been written into law where, quote unquote, they're calling this predatory. Uh, but it's not predatory because you're never doing this business without the consent of the buyer or the seller and actually serving them. I've never closed a single deal where they're not extremely happy that I was able to get rid of a piece of junk property for them. That's really ultimately what your ideal customer is looking for. They have a piece of crap that's collecting dust and taxes and they need to get rid of it. Okay. Um, so it's a lucrative business, but also uh, the average realtor out there, they're not happy. They're not happy about out of market transactions. Okay, for obvious reasons, it's taking money away from their pocket. It's the same reason why traditional taxi drivers are not happy with Uber and Lyft. Okay, same thing. Just reality of life. It comes down to a game of business, and eventually they'll lose because we can't swim against the tide, right? So, but just so you know, that those states right there, I would avoid them. You can actually see them on the map here, really quickly. Let me show you on the map. Let me see. Let me see something here. You can see there to. So some people will say, should I stay in my local state? If you're in your local state, yeah, sure, absolutely, that's fine. It comes down to the same rules. Be consistent. Now, if your local states are those states, instead of you running a wholesale business, and there are those 5 states I just said, New York State, California State, Oklahoma State. What else? What else? I have to always try to remember. Illinois State, right? And Ohio State. If it's any one of those 5 states, just get licensed. License is not going to hurt you from doing this business, by the way. Just get licensed. It's 75 hours or so in around that in most states. 75 hours of lessons and memorizing stuff, and then you take a test with the state and you get licensed. The only rule is that you have to disclose to every transaction that you're a licensed agent. This just so happens to be a wholesale transaction for you. You could be a broker, you could be a licensed realtor. There's no rules against it. And it just gives you access to the market and building more relationship in the market, right? But if you're not living in any one of those states and you just want to do this business virtually, which is what I recommend, you could do this from anywhere in the world. All you're doing is finding us leads. You're generating leads for us. And those of us that are on ground are happy to take those leads from you and work it and pay you for being a marketer. That's it. You can make 10, 20, $30,000 from doing so. Just like that. Okay. So I think California is right here on the left hand side to the extreme left. New York is right here to the extreme right. Ohio is somewhere right here right next to Pennsylvania, between Pennsylvania and Indiana. And Oklahoma is next to Texas. The last time I checked, I think. Yep, right here, right above Texas, right? And those states right there, as you can see, the landscape is big for everyone. You really don't have to stress yourself on where I could do this business or not. Okay. So I'm zooming in. I'm zooming in a little bit into inland here. What is this? Grand Island seems to be a place here. So I'm just going to do Grand Island, right? By the way, there's a way you can draw pencils over the map. Grand Island. What is this? Grand Island in, is this Nebraska? Let me zoom it out. think so. It's a few Grand Island out there. Finally, it's in Nebraska, right? And E right there. So let's go to Nebraska. So let's say I want to do this business in Nebraska. I could see that it's a small town. It's too small personally for me. Okay, so instead of going to Grand Island, Nebraska, let's go to Omaha, right? Omaha, Nebraska. Yep, I think that's more for a city. There you go. So that's almost four times same amount of houses on the market. I could see here that based on my personal criteria, there's 31 properties that I can chase after already, just off of me setting this up on the filter. I have other videos that show you how to set this up. Okay, actually, you can just go back to my last live session, which I did talked about wholesaling real estate cold calling. You could search for wholesaling real estate cold calling OLA. It should come up. Okay, but anyway, so you can see there's 31 properties that fits my criteria. Let me click into it, right? Then I'll show you why and what is on my criteria. But as you can see, I have access to tons of data. Remember the first stage in all of this, the first stage, right? The first stage in all of this is what? It's data. See that? Data. Very simple, right? I have access to data. I have access to let me just let's do this. I'm going to click clear all. Okay. I'm going to go back and type in Omaha right there. I just selected from the search. There's 200,000 plus properties in this city. Okay. That's data. Okay. But raw data is not good enough. You need a software that will allow you to filter based on certain criteria, right? And that's what I already preset here. How did I do that? I simply did a filter. This is the filters right here. I set a filter and I used the save search feature all the way to the right top right corner of my screen. Okay, but I already saved my filter again. That's another lesson entirely. So let me stay on course. I'm gonna click here, okay, and I'll show you what is in my filter. When I click on it, automatically applies my filter to all 200,000 properties. I'm not chasing after every single property. It just doesn't make any sense because I'm limited on resources. And the way I make my resources unlimited is by being smart about filtering, manipulating the data, and then processing the data and making it, making it something that's easy for my resources to go far, right? Some people will say, oh yeah, but I'm competing with all of these gurus that send 10,000 pieces of mail every week. That's because, again, the gurus, think about it, the gurus still don't, they can't create this 31 pieces of property out of thin air. They can't. If anything, they are sending to more properties don't don't qualify for your attention, and you have access to this software, give you the tools to be able to pre-qualify data into properties and then to pre-qualify them based on this criteria I'm about to show you. So what are these criteria? These are the criteria called 11 points. I need it to be residential, single family, multi-family, up to 4 family properties only. I exclude all. This is all, you can set that all up with this filter here. Same software, you have access to it for free. You can do a free trial, right? Um, Exclude all homeowner association, the condos, anything like with condos, anything with like community living. Community living here in the United States is basically like they look like apartments, okay, like they're all joined together, but people are actually purchasing them. They tend to be a little bit difficult for wholesale business, right? They can fall on your lap and then you can work it. But as far as you spending your hard-earned dollars on marketing and your time on resources, energy on marketing, which is basically what this is, you want to make sure that you're going after the ones that has the highest chance of bringing you money, right? So I exclude anything with homeowner association on it. On market deals, I say no, I don't want it to be listed with the realtor already. Why? Because it complicates wholesaling. Okay, wholesaling is primarily off market deals. The idea is you go into the market yourself, you find them direct. That's why it's wholesale. That's like you're going direct to a farm to bring in baskets of tomato, and that you wholesale it to retailers, right? So you don't want to go on the market, which is properties listed by retailers, the real estate agents. So I say no here, right? Foreclosure, I like properties that I deal with to, these people have it's shown factually because it's public data that they've been experiencing some hard times in terms of their affordability of the property. That means they're either late on their mortgage payment, something like that's going on, right? So I need to see notice of default or lease pendings, which is another language for pending lawsuits. That means the bank has initiated potential lawsuit against them to take the property back. They can't afford the property, right? That's the more another additional reason why they may want to sell you the property. Okay. I like it to be individual on the front end. I like LLC owners are okay. I've done deals with LLC owners, but individuals tend to be the direct owner of the property that have um, no business interest in the property. They've lost hope that this property is productive for them, and but they're the owner. Maybe they inherited the property, something like that. But anyway, first I like to deal with most properties are owned by individuals. Okay, as opposed to what? As opposed to being owned by a corporation, right? Which is an indication of some level of sophistication that can complicate the process of wholesaling. Okay. All right. So then I also suppress anything that has active bankruptcy. Why? Because it's in bankruptcy court, right? They're looking to collect money and to count assets and all those kind of things. I would deal with the house that came from bankruptcy only after it's left active bankruptcy stage, at least based off of what I know, right? Estimated value, I like to operate within properties that are 100,000 to 500,000. Nothing less than 100,000 because I need room to be able to make $10,000. Okay, $10,000 per deal because there's a lot of work that goes into this. Let's not cap, right? So I want to make sure that I'm able to make at least $10,000 off of a deal. I don't want to spend my money when there's 300 million properties in the United States. Why would I spend my money marketing to houses that are worth less than $10,000? How much money am I standing to make? $50? So again, I like the value to be around minimum $100,000 and no more than 500,000 because once you start going over 500,000, now you're looking at high end, affluent neighborhood, and when you start to ascend, you could do deals in those areas. But I'm saying different rules start to set in when you're dealing with multi-million dollar homes. And yes, there are people who are selling multi-million dollar homes and collecting 100 grand from each deal. Just keep in mind that the rules can change a little bit, right? But the same concepts apply across board. And the estimated equity, I like to see 50% or more. Meaning, if the property is worth 400,000, like the example I gave earlier, I like to see that they're not owing more than $200,000. Because if they owe more than $200,000, potentially we have to negotiate a short sale. There's no room for them to make money. While I still make money, then we're able to do a deal, right? Now, could you still do a deal with properties that are quote unquote underwater, meaning they owe much more than what the property is worth? Yes, but in that case, there's a different additional business model you need to add on to that. That's a short sale. A short sale needs to be negotiated with the person they are owing money to, the bank that they're owing money to, right? And that process is a little bit longer. That's the example I gave you earlier, where I had deals in the pipeline, which I did close on every single one of them, but they had to go through the short sale process, which can be anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 years, right? And the other deal, my first deal was a deal that had equity in it. Like the guy walked away with $50,000 or something like that. So there was room for negotiations at the closing, where he asked me for extra money, right? So that's the filter right there that I had it, right? So if you count this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's actually 9. But depending on the market, sometimes I will add these two additional. That's why I call it 11 points. Sometimes I will add these two additional point filter, which is owner occupied. I'll say no, I don't want the owner to be living in the property. Why? Because if they don't live in the property, it's not a home, it's a house. They are less emotionally attached to it. It's just a landlord. And a lot of landlords, they came into the game thinking it's easy breezy, but they're tired. Okay, it's a stressful job. It's actually a second job. Okay. So I like to go after those. And in that case, I will say no here. When I said no, you notice that the property reduced from 31 to only 2 on this list right now. The other one, depending on the market, in this market, I wouldn't use that. I have 31 already. It's less than 100. I usually like to go after 100. If you're a newbie, you go after 100, you spend $50 or less on mailing these people, and you just consistently do that. Remember the input every week. Remember every week, and don't stop at 6 weeks. Keep going because you know that this thing is working for you out there, right? Okay, so Let's keep going. Bum, 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 bum. I'm sure you will have questions. If you have questions, use the comment area, chat area, anything like that. I will be happy, glad. Or you can just comment inside and just ask me through text message. All right. So occupancy status. I like you to say vacant. If I say vacant, you notice that this list has disappeared. What that typically means is that in this city, PropStream, the software does not have data for vacant property. That's really all it means. Okay, when it goes empty like that. So I wouldn't use the filter. I'll go back in the filter and I will make this any, right? But also in terms of, I could also tell with this neighborhood, sorry, in this city that um, a lot of people that got into this trouble of, their property being in potential foreclosure, uh, where majority of them are actually the owner of the property. They live in the property, right? And that doesn't mean you can't do a deal. The only thing that can stop you from doing a deal is your lack of consistency. That's it. I promise you. I've seen this literally for the past 16 years. If you're not consistent, deals will slow down. If you're consistent, you will build a pipeline. What you're looking to do is build a pipeline, right? And you can do everything from, you can do all the contact, skip trace. That means to find the contact information, phone numbers, email address of the owners of the property. Then you start initiating contact with them using the campaign tab here. You can do all of that from this one single software. You don't have to complicate it. The software has tutorials on step by step, right? Let me go back to the filter really quickly. If we go back to the filter here, I'm going to take out this owner occupied thing and make it any. I have 31. So I will simply just select all 31. That's the data right there. I will add them to a list, right? Once I add them to a list, I will manage my list over there. You can see all the lists we have under my property here. You can see we have tons of lists, different properties for different reasons, right? And all I need to do, I don't need to be looking at each property and evaluating them for what they're worth. It's pointless because at that, because we're talking about stages. Remember, we're talking about stages, right? Let's go back to the stage. You don't want to be doing assessment of any particular property unless that property has gone through stage 3, meaning the owner has actually said, here I am interested in an offer. The only time you should be doing particular in-depth assessment on any property is if the owner has said, yes, I'm interested. And then obviously you want to do your math and then make sure that you're giving an offer with respect to what the fair market value of the property after repair value of the property is, right? That's essentially how you want to do this game. Okay. All right. So let's go back here. These are different lists right here. You see different lists for different purposes that we use at different stages. You can delete lists. You're allowed up to 10,000 pieces of property records every single month. Every new month is renewed. You can have access to another 10,000. Well, obviously, like I said, you don't want to be going after all 10,000. You want to use the filters, narrow them down, and be consistent over time if you don't want to be a victim of this curve. This curve is called the exponential curve, right? If you want to create the exponential a graph with results that shows exponential growth, and then you hear people say overnight success, is because no one saw the red line where they were literally pulling their air out, right? Because it's hard to be consistent. It's just extremely hard to be consistent, right? So just wanted to quickly share that with you. This is the only secret to get into your first deal. Listen, you could follow anybody in the industry, any guru, anybody's training, right? If you're consistent with it, you will pull a deal out of it. Okay. Now, some people's training are better than others, but everything I'm doing here is free. So I'm telling you right now that the only danger here is that you take this for granted because it's free and you don't take action. That's the only danger. Okay. That's the only danger. Listen, I benefit if you start doing deals and you bring me deals. Okay. I benefit from that. Okay. And by the way, if you have deals that comes across your table and you're looking to do deal disposition, you have make sure it's already under contract. Okay. It has to be under contract already. So I'm going to put that here right now. That's what I call deals. If it's not under contract, you can submit a deal anyway. But you want to go to myEmpirePRO.com/submit. All right, good. You want to go to this link right here, www.myempirepro.com/submit. You can submit your deals there. I'll do deal with you. I'll mentor you. I'll do all those kind. We make money together. Okay. So if you're looking into why am I doing it? Am I just being nice? No, it's because of stuff like this. I do deals with a lot of people. Make money from it. Okay. But you also make money too without having to waste your life savings on $35,000 coaching. Okay. Now I do have mentorship coaching here that's paid for that you can absolutely if you want my personal time upfront, but you don't really need it if you are willing to be if you understand this consistency piece that I just put here, you will realize very quickly that you don't need it. All right. So if you want to take a quick note, you can go ahead and stay at this a little bit. Those are the stages right there while I go ahead and see what's going on in the market today. You know, we have to see what's going on in the market, don't you? Don't you think so? So we can make sense out of all of this, right? Uh, it's a lot of information, especially if you're brand new, right? But it comes down to learning how value works in the marketplace, value for value, learning how money moves from one hand to the other. Money will move from whoever is providing the most value. Very simple, right? Money will move from one hand to the hands of the person providing the most value. Money will come from the government, but money that's given to you by the government has a cost to it, has a price to it. Depend too much on that, it can destroy you, right? So just keep in mind that money goes from person to person based on value in the marketplace. All right. So with that being said, let's do this. So let's go into the market and see what's going on in the headlines. Major U.S. airline CEOs warn 5G could ground some planes. Ooh, ooh, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's check this out. This is crazy. I'm using 5G as well. I upgraded to 5G recently. Let's see what they're talking about. The chief executives, cargo couriers on Monday warned of an impending catastrophic aviation crisis. On Wednesday, AT&T Verizon are set to deploy new 5G service. The airlines warned the new C-band, okay, the new particularly C-band service potentially makes a significant number of wide-body aircraft unusable, could potentially strand tens of thousands of Americans overseas. Okay, so get them stranded. That means they can't use it. Okay, they can't use the plane. Okay. Let's see. Unless major hubs are cleared to fly, the vast majority of the traveling and shipping public will essentially be grounded. The FAA warned that potential interference could affect sensitive airplane instruments such as altimeters and impacts on low visibility. All right, so here's what I'm gonna say. I don't know. For me personally, I still turn airplane mode. They don't. I noticed that in recent times when I fly, they don't enforce the airplane mode. Turn your phones off. They're not enforcing it. I don't know if you notice the same thing. But just to be on the safe side, for now, I would definitely make sure I turn my. By the way, those moments where you have to turn your phone off is needed. It's self-discipline. I know we're comfortable. We want access to information. Even in that few hours we're going to be on a plane, I'm the same way. I want access to everything. But what I do personally, especially for an entrepreneur student, and you're looking to make it big, you're in self development, all this kind of stuff, those moments are a good time to download good audiobooks. Okay. And listen to audiobooks and take a nap. Take time off of the gadgets. You have to, because I'm telling you, it's self-discipline. Okay, it's just something as simple as self. You need it. This is a skill set that you need in every other areas of life. Sometimes you have to pull back. Sometimes you have to back off of something that you really, really something or someone that you really, really love. Sometimes you have to back off a little bit, right? And the 5G thing, it's brand new. It's a brand new technology. Some of us are already on 5G, but it looks like they're talking about a particular band. But just keep that at the back of your mind with technology in general. Technology is a beautiful thing. We're all using it. As I'm talking to you right now, I'm using quite a few gadgets, right, to make this happen, right? But just keep that at the back of your mind when you're applying technology to your personal life and business. You need it. You need to know where to draw the line. For example, I will tell you very quickly, please don't engage driving for dollars. If you're a person that lives in the United States and know that your time is worth more than $20 at least per hour, it's not worth your time. Okay, it's not. Take it from me. It's not worth your time. Okay. Now, could you get lucky and close the deal? Yes. The keyword is luck. Okay. If you want to build this business on luck, then sure, be my guest. But if you want to build this business with deliberate actions, intentional, and you want to be able to track activities and be able to multiply, scale up activities that's profitable for you and scale down those that are not working for you, avoid manual work. Okay. However, with that being said, there's a point you get to when it's 12 midnight, put the phone away. On an average basis, of course. There are days that you just feel like staying late. That's not what I'm talking about. You don't want to be uptight with this as well. But I'm just saying in general, uh, self-discipline is a good thing. Okay, because a lot of these people, as you can see, they haven't figured everything out. They figured a lot out, right? They figured out how to land ground planes and all this kind of stuff. We fly on them, we trust them, right? Literally with our lives, right? But just keep in mind that there's casualty when they're building all this stuff. Okay, there's casualty that you may never hear about. So whatever is in your power that you can control, control it. Just keep that at the back of your mind with technology in general. Okay. Let's see. Walmart is quietly preparing to enter the metaverse. Okay. All right. The metaverse concept makes sense to me, but I think is at this point maybe I'm wrong. Okay, because I'm sure somebody said that about the internet back in 1993. I feel like it's overrated right now at this point. Okay, no one is going to leave their house and jump into a virtual world. You still need them to be them. They still need to put on the virtual reality, whatever the gadgets they have. They still need to, we still need people. Okay, everyone should calm down about that. But I understand that it's making news and headlines and stuff like that. So I get it. Let's just keep that at the back of our mind. I'm trying to see what the market did today. Let's see. Um, let's see what Goldman Sachs is talking about. I do pay attention to what Goldman Sachs has to say. Wait, what happened? Go back. But that's just a headline. Oh, they blocked me. Now they're making me want to subscribe. All right. Let's see here. Let me just do something real quickly. All right. All right. So it looks like the market was basically flat today. That's what it looks like. 0.08%, 0.8%, 0.8%. See. All right, so I think they're still talking about the interest rate. I think it's still more so about the interest rates. Let me look at this one here. I have a tons of video coming up on interest rates, so make sure you look out for that. It's very important because especially if you're going to be in real estate, right? Especially if you're going to be in real estate. Let me just see something really quickly. Just gotta make sure I okay, that's awesome. I didn't know I could do that. Uh, all right, so yeah, awesome, awesome. All right, good. So let's see what they're saying here. So interest rate. I have tons of video coming up on interest rate. I think it's important to understand interest rate, obviously, because the end bargain of real estate. Most people that are buying real estate are going to be using mortgages, okay? And interest rates, in a lot of direct ways, affect the market and the ups and downs of the market. It's very important that you understand that because when you're giving offer as a wholesaler, right, you want to have your pulse on the market. You want to understand how the market works in terms of yes, you're looking at comps. Like this, becomes an exact science way of looking at the market. But sometimes you want to use 3 months of data, something. Let me show you what I mean. Okay. And all of that is driven by what you see that's going on in the market with regards to interest rate, right? Right. So let me go here. If I go here and I look at this property, this one property, for example, right? Property 97 White Oak Ridge. If I go under comparables, right? Um, put this at 1 mile. Okay. Okay. 1 mile radius. I can see what this property is saying. 1 mile radius. This property is saying about $646,000. Value 548, 585 rather, right? It sold last year for 610, I guess. Okay. So I could look at that, but this is based off of 1 mile radius, right? But also based off of 1 year of data. Maybe based on the interest rate, based on what I'm seeing, I'm not too comfortable using the offer that I would generate from 646, 65% minus whatever it's going to cost me to repair, estimated, right? So I may say, let me go under the dates. I want to roll this back. I'm not comfortable with the interest rate in the market. The market is just off of what I'm feeling. I feel like the market is panicking, or the government is panicking, or the government is not decisive on if they should increase interest rate or not, which tells me that they don't have much confidence in the marketplace. Then I may go just only 6 months here. I just roll this back for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I only use data up to 6 months. When I use data up to 6 months old, what happens? I see that a lot of property have not sold in this neighborhood within 1 mile radius in the last 6 months. Is the market going up or down? Just off of what I just showed, there's not a lot of properties selling. Well, we could look at it like this. Maybe there's no inventory, right, in the marketplace. We could look, there's not a lot of people listing their property on the market, right? We can also look at it that way. But again, the point I'm making is that you want to understand how the interest rates work at the Fed's level so you can have a pause on if the government is confident about the economy or not. Okay. Billionaire investor Bill Hackman says the Federal Reserve is losing its battle against inflation and should raise its key interest rate by a bigger than expected 50 basis points. That means 50% more than what it is, right? In March, to restore its credibility. Because if the bank, the Feds, the central bank, keeps reducing the interest rate, making money so cheap, right? Meaning they're printing money, right? It will devalue dollars, but it also makes people, the investors, institutional investors, lose confidence in the marketplace. In the long run, that's not good for all of us. In the short term, it may be a useful thing. That's why it's a very difficult decision for them to make. That's why you need economy experts behind this, right? In the short term, it may be needed. In the long term, uh, there's more to the stories like that. That's gonna destroy the credibility or the trust of the marketplace in the economy of the nation, right? So a 50 BP, let's see, a 50 BP initial move would have the reflexive effect of reducing inflation, meaning reduction of the value of money, right? Inflation expectation, which would moderate. See, the idea is not to go to one extreme; is to moderate the need for more aggressive and economically painful steps in the future. Facing pressure from Congress and the public to tackle the hardest inflation since the 1980s. A chorus of officials this month floated raising rates in March and the potential need to hike 4 or even 5 times this year. Yeah. So they don't want to wait until it's like it's going to create panic in the other direction in the marketplace. You want to do it when it feels moderate, it's not a big deal. And that's often a difficult decision for the Feds to make. Okay. Let's see. All right, so there's not much going on here. I could tell because let me just click into this. The S&P 500. All right, so this was what, one day? Sorry, 1 year. Yeah, it's not showing me the one day because let's just go 5 days rather. Okay, so base off of 114, 117. There's a rebound going there. All right, so there's not much I can say to this right now. Let me just see if there's any news. All right, there's not much I can say today. Just keep an eye out. Read the news on the interest rate. Just keep reading news on interest rate, particularly to help you read the market. You have an idea of what's going on in the market. Let me go back here. This is what I need to do 4 o'clock because the headlines that I'm really looking for comes out at 4 o'clock. Um, but this probably got pushed down the drain right now. All right. So anyway, that's that right there. So your first deal, you want your first deal, work on your ability to be consistent. It's discipline. Okay. Um, you can use the you can use this, as much as you want to. It's basically discipline, and it comes down to your ability to be able to stay a course, right? The acronym focus, like, means focus on one course until success or until you succeed, right? It's real, you know. And I understand it's very difficult because sometimes you just need to see where you're going. You just need to feel it and have an idea of where you're heading, right? I get it, you know. Sometimes that's really what you need. And but again, if it was that easy, if everyone can just see everything and be able to predict like that, everyone will be doing it, right? But this is where you get to rise above the marketplace, the average human being. You get to say, I'm disciplined enough. This makes sense to me. I'm going to follow all the way through, at least for 6 months. Okay. So the next question is, how long should I try before I quit? Consistently for 6 months. If you quit somewhere in between, let's say there's this month that life happened, it wasn't even your fault. Life happened, right? And you get through this month, and that month happened, and basically you fell apart. You didn't do the right thing, and especially you did that for like 2 3 weeks in a row. You have to start counting your 6 months from the beginning. Now, I'm saying that as a favor for you, okay? Because you are determined to win in this game, right? You have to start that's counting your 6 months from the beginning. So basically, hold yourself accountable. Say, hey, I broke the rule. This is self-discipline, self-control, okay? I broke the rule, but I need to go all the way back and do this from the beginning. Because if I don't do that, I, I, there's no other way for me to know that I've built enough red line. That red line, you break that red line, you have to start from the beginning. Okay? Let me say that again to you one more time. You break that red line, start from the beginning. Okay, start counting. Now, if that red line has crossed the green line, meaning you've closed deals, you started to generate some really good leads, right? If that red line has already crossed that, you probably won't need me to preach to you. I'll be preaching to the choir because you know what this takes. But if your green and blue line has not crossed your red line, well, every time you break it, hold yourself accountable. Hold yourself accountable and say, I broke it. I'm starting. Remember, this is just mental. Nothing changes. You continue the same thing. You just start counting from the beginning. That's all. Okay. And if I were you, I'll use 6 months and not 6 weeks so that I don't give myself unnecessary ultimatum. We're talking about building $1 million business. You can't expect that you're just going to figure everything out in 6 weeks. Instead, if you go through the process for 6 months straight and you're diligent about that, right? If you go through the process for 6 months straight and you're diligent about it, I think you will make something great out of it. And everyone will look at your story and they will basically say, oh, yeah, that's one of those overnight success, right? They will miss it. They will miss it. They'll look at you, they'll say, hey, he said one of the. But the truth is that there's no such thing, okay? There is, because it feels that way, because you see that green line, when you look at it in front of the green line, it is. It feels like in month number 6, it feels like month number 6. Everybody starts seeing your success, and you're like, whoa, whoa, he's making good money. Yeah, all he did is that. No, that's not all he did. He also did a lot of stuff that you will never get to see. You will never get to see those moments. And then you determine that, okay, I know that the course of success, it's like this across board, regardless. Everyone will pay their dues. Everyone, I don't care who you are, everyone has to pay their dues. So if you acknowledge that, then this graph is something you want to print out and put in front of you and say, you know what? I messed up in the last 2 weeks. I missed the point. I need to go back to the beginning. And then it's the same thing anyway. Now keep in mind when you're consistent, there's additional benefit from it. It's a skill set that you build. You build new habits. Eventually start becoming second nature to you. If you don't do the right thing, eventually at some point you won't feel right. But in the beginning, remember you have bad habits, right? Which is what created your particular situation financially today. You're gonna need to break that. And that's why I'm giving you what I'm giving you. Like, listen, it's a 6 months battle. It's a 10,000 hours type of situation. You have to go through the process. Okay. Every time you break it, you start counting from one again. And then before you finish the next six, maybe you're gonna close your first deal, right? And then again, the skill set is very simple. It's really 5 stages. That's it. And it comes down to simple. You pull the data, you arrange the data. They give you a bunch of free tutorials to do that. I'll continue to also cover this here. So if you really like what we've done today so far, and uh, and you feel like you've gotten a lot from what we've covered here, please, all you can do, the best thing you can do for me is make sure you hit the thumbs up. Give it a thumbs up, hit the like button, and engage. Share this video with people that you know will also benefit from it. Let them know that we're here at least twice a week. Okay, and yeah, we're here at least twice a week, and yeah, just wanted to make sure that you can still hear me. We're here at least twice a week, and I'll be here. If you have any questions, come on inside, ask your questions. Everything is free here.